the news, yeah, you should listen up. That new news is really what's up. Wanna know what's going on in the community? Then tune in, and surely you will see. Trying to see all the trends, yeah, she got them for show. Care Bear is here just to let us know that this is the news, the brand new news, something that we call that news.
Thank you for tuning in to That New News. I'm your host, Shakira, and we are
Team TNN.
Now, today is a very special episode for two reasons. One, it's our first episode of all times, and two, it's a tribute episode to Oscar Grant, the 22-year-old male that was killed on the Fruitvale Station platform in Oakland, California, New Year's Day 2009. Now, many of you have probably already heard of the national story when it broke, or have seen the movie Fruitvale Station, which is based on the last day of his life. Take a look at the trailer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Shots fired at Fruitvale.
We're trying to get home.
What is going on?
Next stop, Fruitvale Station.
You're gonna go to Frisco, right? See the fireworks?
Yeah? You ain't gonna say bye?
Bye.
Love you too.
Everything's changing around me, and I wanna change.
Hey, what's up, girl?
It's now or never.
I'm trying to get back on my feet. I really need this job.
I hired somebody else.
I feel different today.
What'd you do today?
I don't know what else to say.
I could start over fresh, but it ain't working out.
It's now or never.
I'm scared. I hear guns.
Those just firecrackers. You're safe inside.
What about you, Daddy?
We'll be back before you wake up. I'm gonna be fine.
You guys got plans for the night?
I meet up with the fellas, head out to the city.
Why don't you take the train out there? That way you guys can hang out and not have to worry about anything.
Hey, Oscar.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New
Oscar?
Year.
Oscar from Pharmacia?
Get off the train now! Put that phone in there.
What you got? Are you still on the train?
We still at Fruitvale.
Why can't you tell me what is going on? What is the problem? What did you do? Oh my God.
Good, I'm good. We're gonna be good.
It's now or never. It's now or never.
All right, so what you guys just saw was the trailer of the movie. So the crazy thing is, we watched Fruitvale Station together, and we almost cried. So how did you guys feel after watching it?
Honestly, there was a lot of emotion when I watched it. Like, I honestly felt like it was sad, and for that to happen to a person as good as he was, like, he was good to his family, he was good to his daughter, and he was good to his girlfriend. It's just sad that things like this happen, but it's also an eye-opener because these things happen all the time, and little light gets shined on them.
Yeah, I feel like not as many people realize just how unfairly African American people are treated, and I feel like this movie really opens a lot of people's eyes about the unjust things that are happening in our communities.
And I agree with you guys. I remember going to the movies to see it with my mom, and me and her were just sitting in the theater just bawling our eyes out, and for like 2 days straight I could not get Oscar or the movie out of my head. So that's why I wanted to do a tribute episode to his family, because it was a very emotional and touching movie, which I recommend all you guys to see. So.
Speaking of going to see the movie at the theater, based on the commercials and the trailers, was the movie what you guys expected it to be like?
For me, no. I thought it was just gonna be a bunch of youth just hanging out, having fun, getting into trouble, and end of the story. I didn't even know it was a true story or someone was gonna die. So I was like, wow, this is powerful, and it's nothing like what I expected.
It honestly, for me, it just wasn't something that I expected from watching the trailer and the commercials. It just wasn't expected.
Yeah, to reiterate what you said, I thought it was just going to be a couple of guys hanging out with their girlfriends on, you know, New Year's Day and then getting into trouble. I had no idea that the movie was going to evoke those types of emotions that I felt while watching it with all of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were you guys' favorite part of the movie?
Oh my gosh, my favorite part, it's such a sad movie, so to have a favorite part is kind of like awkward, but if I had to choose one, I would say watching Oscar and Tatiana's relationship, it reminds me of my father, which I love. And, you know, I just kind of seen my father in him, and I see myself in Tatiana. And it's amazing to see an African-American male, which a lot of people don't think take care of their children, actually taking care of his daughter and having a close bond. So that was my favorite part.
Well, my favorite part, the most heartwarming part was at the end of the movie when Tiana's in the shower with her mother and she asks where her father is. That part made me really wow, it happened. And for any parent telling their child that their father is never coming home, that had to be really hard.
Exactly.
So that part was probably the most heartwarming part to me of the movie.
Well, I have two favorite parts. My first favorite part is seeing when Tatiana asked her mother for the fruit snacks. I know that was kind of a funny part as well as and as he gave her the fruit snacks when they were at the school. And also my second favorite part was also a sad part. It's when Tatiana was dropped off at the sister's house and he made her all those promises, but he didn't live to see the next day, so he couldn't keep the promises.
Right, it's very touching. Now, were any of you guys able to relate to the movie or anything that happened?
I was able to relate to the movie because this past August, I lost a very close friend.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Waiting in the waiting room to find out whether or not your loved one is okay or not, I was able to relate to that feeling. And that's what brought the emotions out more, is knowing how it felt waiting.
Honestly, I feel like we can relate because African Americans aren't treated it right.
It's true.
We aren't treated fairly. And I just feel like this movie just shined a lot of light on that.
It did.
For me, you know, aside from seeing my father and Oscar, I see my uncles and my cousins and my friends. You know, a lot of them are just thought to have already, you know, be doing things bad because they're African American. So I can understand, you know, what Oscar felt, and even myself, you know, going to a city school and just facing statistics and stereotypes that I'm gonna get pregnant or I'm not gonna graduate. So, I mean, I could definitely relate to what happened.
What kind of impact did the movie leave on you guys?
The movie left a very strong impact, and I think it's gonna last with me. It opened my eyes, because I'm sure this isn't the only time African American, not only males but females as well, have been assaulted by police officers who are supposed to be there to protect us and who just aren't. So the impact it left on me, it really opened my eyes.
I feel the same way. It just shows you that racism and prejudice, it's still there. It may not be up front, but it's kind of under the rug, and it's something that needs to be talked about, and awareness needs to be brought to situations like this, because like you said, this is a very common story, and a lot of people don't get a movie. You know what I'm saying? So it's very crucial that we talk about this and we face it head on.
Honestly, I feel the same as both of you guys, because I understand where you're coming from. It was an eye-opening impact that the movie left on us.
Yeah, it was great. So we asked a few people in the community how they felt about the movie after watching it, and here's what they had to say.
The overall was good. I do encourage people to investigate and find out the true story and watch the raw footage, as well as look into the independent movie. It really gives you a look on how police brutality affects our nation as a whole.
I felt sad, very sad about how they treated the guy, and they killed him. And I felt a connection with the character, Oscar, because his daughter, he just lost his dad, and I lost my dad when I was young. So
it was very frustrating to see what happened to innocent individuals.
It was a very powerful movie. It showed you that racism is still here in America. We need to acknowledge it. It's not just trying to sweep it on the rug. And it really shows how policemen are very like in real life how they really are. Don't have no remorse for just killing an innocent man.
All right, so I completely agree with what they said. If you haven't seen the movie, or if you do watch the movie, make sure you follow up on the story because it's great to know more about it. And it's a very touching movie. But stay tuned because when we come back, we're going to be talking about what actually happened to the officer that killed Oscar. And I know you don't want to miss that, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Get your ass in suit. You're not sitting here.
Yes, I am.
Move. Off here. Give it to him hard.
No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why you stabbing me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how. Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
All right, welcome back to That New News. Now, today is all about Oscar Grant, the 22-year-old male that was killed on the Fruitvale Station platform. So far we've been talking about the movie Fruitvale Station, and now we're going to talk about what actually happened to the officer. Now, he was basically trying to arrest Oscar for a misdemeanor, meaning he was trying to obstruct an officer. Now, a lot of people recorded the footage of the officers harassing Oscar, so we're going to watch that real quick. Let's just play it.
That's fucked up! Hey! That's fucked up! Really? That's hella unnecessary! Come on now! Come on now, y'all! Really? Stop resisting, man. It's simple, dude. You know, it's gonna be exactly force. Just stop resisting. I mean, they're just getting Hey, that's hella fucked up. That's fucked up. Let him go. What the fuck?
Seen the footage. What did you think? Because I don't see Oscar doing anything wrong. He's on the ground.
I just don't think that it was fair. I just feel like because of his race, that's why that happened. Had he been a white male, same age as Oscar, I don't feel like the policeman would have took the same approach. I think there would have been a total different approach. There would have been more talking, asking what they were doing, what happened, and there would have been the other party who was wrong would have got pulled off the train as well, not just Oscar and his friends.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree too. Like with all the commotion going on, Oscar's already riled up because of what happened on the train. I feel like the officers just made a statement because they felt like it's something that could have possibly happened.
Exactly.
But I don't feel like Oscar should have had any charges.
Right.
Right, I completely agree. Even in the footage, you don't see him trying to hit the officer or, you know, being irrational. I see him just on the ground. So I don't know too much he could have done. But now another thing you guys need to know is that the officer was tried for murder, second degree, I believe it's second degree or first. Well, he was tried for that, but the jury convicted him of involuntary manslaughter. Basically meaning they don't think he had intent to kill Oscar. What?
And the reason they say that is because what I feel like he lied and said that he made a mistake and grabbed his gun when he meant to grab his taser. And honestly, I don't believe that at all. The shape of a taser and a gun is different.
Right, but then again, the taser, in the case, the taser he had, it was the shape of his gun. But still, the taser is lighter than the gun. It's bigger than the gun. It's yellow. The gun is black. So there's a lot of distinctive characteristics about the actual taser that are not on the gun. So I don't even know how that's even an excuse, or I don't know who's on the jury because it doesn't make sense. How do you think you why did you even need a taser?
I
is my
don't,
question.
right. There was no need for him to even reach for anything. And I'm pretty sure when they take you to do your training, when you are becoming a police officer, they show you where everything is. So had it been another situation where he felt like he needed to use his gun when he really needed to use it, and he made a mistake and grabbed his taser because it felt like a gun, he would have been shooting nothing because it's a taser, not a gun.
Exactly. So.
And also, I feel like as an officer, it should have never have gotten to that point. You're a professional. Mistakes shouldn't happen like that. I can see if you made a mistake and like tased him or pinched him, but no, you shot the man, an innocent man, you shot him and you killed him.
Exactly.
And I think that that's why he retracted his answer, because Oscar Grant was not here to justify himself. So now it was basically the officer's word against, honestly, a group of African American males. And I think that's why the officer, you know, did what he did.
Exactly, and you guys have to know he shot Oscar point blank range in the back. So, I mean, he didn't die on the scene, but at the hospital later on, as you see in the movie, he died.
A part also that touched me is that the fact that when they were in the story where Oscar, the job that Oscar got fired from, he was helping the lady, and in the end that paid off because the lady saw him and she was actually recording everything, so she was able to make a statement to help out, and the fact that she was a white woman would help their, I thought that would have helped their case even more and got the policeman more time.
Exactly. Now let's actually, speaking of time, let's talk about the time. He got sentenced to 2 years, but he got released in 11 months. Now, you guys know how I feel about that. I don't even understand that. There's people that are on probation longer than 2 years. And like you said, there's people that, you know, go to jail for robbery or, you know, petty theft, and they get longer terms than he did, and he killed a man. Oscar will never wake up. He'll never be able to go home and hug his daughter, take her to prom, walk her down the aisle. It's over. He can do that. He can go to Burger King and order, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like, it's these little things that count that Oscar will never be able to do because he took his life. So 2 years is not long enough for me.
I just feel like for him to get out on good behavior 11 months early, that basically, I just feel like if you take someone's life, you should be serving yours.
I agree.
That's true.
And also, 2 years to begin with is like an irrational sentence. Like 2 years is like robbing an ice cream store. But no, you robbed this man of his life, something he can never get back. There will never, ever be another Oscar Grant.
Exactly.
And right now, he's at home with his job and his wife and his children. And little Tatiana is left without a father. She can never have another father.
Exactly.
And that's just not right.
Exactly.
So a lot of individuals feel like, you know, what happened to Oscar Grant was a case of racial profiling. What are your judgments and opinions and views on the topic?
Well, my thought about that, I feel like it was racial profiling.
Definitely.
Oscar was on the train. He was standing there like a normal person, just standing there. He was in the altercation with the white man on the subway, but he was standing there like a normal person, and the fact that he was black is the reason why he was pulled off the train. The man who he was in an altercation with didn't get pulled off the train. So basically, I feel like if you're wearing a suit and tie and you're carrying a briefcase and you're on the subway and you just got into an altercation with someone and you're white, they won't pull you off the train because your appearance.
Exactly.
But that's exactly why you don't judge a book by its cover.
And also, all the men who were pulled off the train were African American.
Exactly.
And the guy who started the fight was Caucasian, and you didn't hear anything else about him.
Exactly. I completely agree. I mean, think about it. These cases happen. You have Trayvon Martin, you know, so it's like it was racial profiling. No matter how you spin the story, etc., it was. You looked at the skin, his skin color, and you judged him. You figured because he's black, he was wearing a black hoodie, okay, he was in the fight. And that's wrong. You know, I see people all the time that wear hoodies. My uncles wear hoodies, but they're not up to trouble, or my friends wear hoodies. And a lot of them are like nerds. They're smart. They're trying to do good things. So I feel like if you just group those individuals together as negative people, you're just...
That's what they'll turn out to be sometimes.
Exactly. You kind of, society kind of shapes you into that person.
Well, let's pretend for a second that you don't believe is racial profiling. You can obviously watch the video and hear the officers say hurtful, mean racial comments toward Oscar Grant and the rest of the men who were involved at Fruitvale Station.
Right.
And I mean, it's almost impossible for you to say that racism wasn't a key in what happened to him, based upon what the officers were saying. So,
I mean, it was, and it's just unfortunate.
When we come back, we'll be talking about police in the community, so stay tuned.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
For you.
They want to help, but don't know how. Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Danse, balance la cadence. On lève bien tes hanches au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence. Dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Thank you for tuning into That New News. Now, today we've just been talking about Oscar Grant and his story. Now we're going to get a little into police in the community. So, how did you guys feel about police officers prior to watching the movie?
Prior to watching the film, I felt like police officers sometimes abuse their powers, like running red lights because they know they can, and harassing us downtown, leaving school, or just throughout the streets. So prior to watching the film, I felt like police officers did abuse their powers, but at the same time, they do help us when we need them the most.
I agree. I've never really had a bad run-in with officers, besides being downtown, and they definitely harassed me, I would say that. But I don't know. Like, I see them being rude to a lot of other people that are really just walking, trying to get on the bus, or just, going about their day. I will say, although they come late, they will come to help you when you need help. But, I mean, there's good, there's bad,
Honestly, about what you guys are saying about the whole downtown situation, if you haven't heard, about when you watching the news, there were 3 black males downtown, and officers were harassing them, asking them what they were doing down there, like they weren't supposed to be there, when they were just leaving basketball practice or on their way to basketball practice, and they were arrested. So that's been all over the news, and that's just an example. So if you asked me prior to watching the movie, it's there. It just opens your eyes even more to these things that are happening.
Exactly. I completely agree with you.
Well, how have your views and opinions changed about police officers after watching the movie?
I'm just floored. It's like, it's real now. It's like they really abuse their power, they abuse their authority, and they feel like they're above the law. And the reality of it is, they pretty much are. I mean, he only got 2 years. You know what I mean? And a regular person probably would have got 25 to life. So, I mean, it definitely opened my eyes, and I don't know, it's crazy.
Well, after watching the movie, my views have changed because you just, when you see white police officers, you just look at them like, oh, that could have been me and that officer. I could have been put in his position, and that could have happened to me. And so that makes you look at them a certain type of way, but you don't really know them, so it's not right for us to do that. But then again, you look at that movie, it wasn't right for him, and it could have happened to anybody. And when they see black people in the movies, we have that forget the police mentality that they show about us. And when they show the white people, they always show them as them running to the police and us running from the police.
Exactly.
My views about police officers have changed drastically because I used to feel like, oh, that stuff happened a long time ago. We're not in a racist community anymore. But the reality is, 2009, that wasn't that long of a time. It wasn't that long ago.
You're right.
And it's happening currently, and it's reoccurring. And unless we do something to stop it, it's gonna keep recurring, But I just feel like we go to the police when we need help, but who do we go to when we need help from the police against the police?
That's a good question. I mean, it's like we can't go to anyone else because they're the people that's supposed to help us.
The highest authority.
So it's like it's a lose-lose situation, especially for, I hate to say it, African Americans, and I'm not just throwing that out there because I'm African American, but that's the reality of it, and that's all we do on this show. We're gonna tell you what it is, and what it is it's harder for African Americans, and it's always been, but it still is. We asked the same individuals from earlier how they felt about the police. Here's what they had to say.
The police in my community, I feel, don't always do their job and protect those around us. They can be prejudiced sometimes, especially in our downtown community with the youth in the community, and I feel like something needs to be done about it.
Because they don't help that much, they could be doing more and putting more effort into their jobs to really search for a crime that's actually going on instead of dealing with a situation that's not even that big and making the community better.
They have their moments when they can be, what do you say, jackasses, but I mean, other than that, though, I really don't care about them.
Officers in my community were always willing to listen to both sides. They weren't, they didn't jump the gun. They didn't make decisions without thinking about both sides or getting information from both sides. So I appreciated them for that. And anytime I had police officers come visit my classes, they were great with the kids.
I mean, you have some good cops out there, and you have some that's bad. I mean, it's really kind of tough on the poor people, especially the African Americans, because they look at us as thugs or real thieves or something like that, and they just try to really be tough on us, try to bring us down.
All right, so I completely agree with how they feel. They pretty much said what we said. Let's talk about some negatives about police officers in the community.
Well, negative, I feel like they abuse their power way too much. I feel like they take advantage of the power that they have way too often, and there's no attention paid to it.
I agree.
I feel like police officers know they got the badge, they know they have the authority, and they abuse it.
I feel the same way. I mean, I just feel like they just need to do their job. If they just did their job and they took off the blinders to just looking at one set of group of people, they would be able to do their job, you know, very well. But because they're only looking at one group of people, it's easier for the other people not being watched to commit all these crimes.
Right.
Because they're just not going to be suspected. So if they did their job, looked at everyone as equals, because that's what they're supposed to do, we wouldn't have a problem. So I think that's a number one issue.
Right.
So to flip it around, what are some positives about the police officers in our communities?
To be honest, police officers, they sometimes do their job. Like there are good police officers.
There are.
And I'm not saying that all Caucasian police officers are bad, because they aren't.
Exactly.
And that all black officers are right. But there are mostly some white officers that are doing bad things.
I would definitely agree with you. Some of them actually do their job. They actually help you. You know, we do need to, when we need help, we do call them. I will say that much. But in our community specifically, I can't really say too much good, and I think that's the sad part.
It is.
There's not that much good. So.
Police officers have time to harass people just walking down the street, but we have a lot of unsolved murder cases here in the city that the police officers just don't have anything to say about. So I feel like a positive is that at least they're trying, but I mean, it still don't outweigh the negatives.
But like, how can we change this? Like, how can we create a positive relationship between the community and the police officers?
I think the best way is to start by confronting the issue. We have to put it all out there, and we have to admit there is an issue. You know, we don't need to pretend like, oh no, they're good, we're good. No, there's an issue, you know, between the community and the police. People are saying, you know, oh, F the police, and it's terrible. Like, we're supposed to have that relationship where we can feel like we can go to them for help. Not that, okay, if I call them, they're gonna take an hour to get here because I live in a poor community, or they already, you know what I'm saying?
And you know what? I think it starts from the childhood.
It
You know
definitely
how the old saying, snitches get stitches? Like, people really take that in when they're young, because that's when you learn most of your stuff when you're young, and you take that with you for the rest of your life. So when you hear that snitches don't get stitches, you don't want to run to the telephone and call the police.
Right.
You want to take matters into your own hands because you feel like you have the authority to do that when it's right there.
Right, but we have to take baby steps.
Right.
Because Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mhm.
And so if we would like to strengthen the bond that we have with police officers, we can start by maybe having them come to our local schools, letting them know that we're not the enemy. And I think from there, the foundation will be built stronger between, you know, the bonds that we have with police officers.
Right, and it's definitely taking it day by day, because like you said, it happens over the course of time. But I feel like we have to start somewhere, and we have to start now, because eventually we're not going to be here. And I don't want to leave this world knowing that there's still this conflict. Even though I know there's always going to be problems, I want us to be a part of the solution and make at least a little difference, if not that big, some difference, you know?
Right.
So that's important to us.
Well, don't touch that dial, because when we return, we have an exclusive interview with Oscar Grant's uncle.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. It's like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
We reached out to Oscar Grant's uncle, Mr. Johnson, for an exclusive interview about his nephew and the movie Fruitvale Station. Take a look at this. First off, I want to thank you for agreeing to do this interview and sitting down with me. My team truly appreciates your time and this interview, so I want to start off by thanking you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, Fruitvale Station is a very powerful and touching movie. I mean, when I went to see it, I was in tears, my family was in tears. And I think a lot of people want to know how the movie came into making.
Okay. The director, Ryan Coogler, who was originally from the Bay Area, was a student at USC Film School. He happened to be in Oakland working that night when Oscar was murdered. It had affected him to such a degree that he felt it necessary to contact the family and share what he had in his mind about what he wanted to do. So he did. He contacted us, you know, my sister, myself, our family, and discussed with us and how he wanted to produce a film showing the humanity of Oscar, his relationship, his foundation, you know, just how he was, what kind of person he was. That was his way of expressing it. So he shared that with us. Then he took it to Forrest Whitaker and shared with Forrest Whitaker. He got permission from us, and if Forrest Whitaker would help him produce this movie, and of course Forrest Whitaker signed on, and that was actually how the making of Fruitvale Station came about.
Okay, now, how factual to detail is the movie in comparison to the actual day in 2009?
Well, the movie is very factual.
Okay.
And I would say at least 99.5%, if not 100% factual.
Okay.
Now, I mean, there's some details that I wasn't with Oscar, you know, in his everyday walk in life, on that particular day specifically. But to his, what was shared, what was shown, and what happened was very factual, extremely factual.
Okay. So you guys had an amazing cast and everyone was amazing. So for you guys, the family, how was it working with the cast?
I mean, I thought it was very good. Of course, Octavia spent time with my sister and took time out to meet us and, you know, just talk with us and share with us how she was going to, you know, portray my sister Wanda.
Right.
Michael B. Jordan also did the same thing.
Yeah,
as
he's
well as
amazing.
Melody Diaz. So the cast or the actors, you know, of course, developed a relationship with us. And of course, the crew, along with the cast, as we were on the set, happened to come to know and develop a relationship with the crew also.
Okay. And throughout the movie, did you ever see your nephew in Michael B. Jordan, who was the guy that played Oscar in the movie?
He brought Oscar back to life. Michael B. Jordan, I have to say, truly internalized Oscar's spirit. There was moments in the film where, not just moments, throughout the film where we actually felt Oscar had came back home, came back alive. You know, and so, I mean, that was really the hard part about this movie. You know, besides the, of course, the killing at the end. But the fact that Michael B. really internalized his spirit, had his characteristics, had his, you know, just had his motion, had his character nailed to the T.
Right. And yeah, he did an amazing job. Now, were you present when the filming took place on the platform of the station?
Not the shooting aspect, but we were on the platform with some of the other takes, you know, with the young man coming up the escalator, you know, preparing for the actual shooting. But the shooting scene on the actual platform, we did not witness that. We didn't want to witness that.
Okay. So you were at the premiere of were you at the premiere of the movie?
Yes.
So when you watched the movie, how did it feel? Like, what were your emotions and thought when you saw Oscar, you know, being assaulted by the police officers and ultimately shot?
Well, you know, again, Michael B. played Oscar so well that it was as if Oscar had really came back to life. And of course, being helpless and unable to prevent what was getting ready to happen, it was very hard to relive and feel, you know, what happened to Oscar on that platform. You know, to hear him say, you know, I have a daughter, or you shot me, you know, or the fact that he couldn't breathe.
Right.
You know, it was real traumatizing.
Right, and it was touching to watch. So what overall message did you guys want the public to receive from the movie?
Well, one that, you know, black and brown young men are loved, have a right to life. You know, experiences ups and downs in life, but a life shouldn't be taken.
Right.
And that police brutality is real. There are officers that we know exist on police forces all across this country that commit the act that we've seen happen to Oscar on that platform. Really every day across this United States. And that, you know, and this is something that we need to be concerned with. And of course, our hope that everybody can see their son, their nephew, their brother, their cousin, and Oscar in that movie.
And do you think the public really had an emotional connection to the movie? Because I know it was very emotional to watch for me.
Yeah, I would say yes. When we went to the Sundance Film Festival where it first premiered at, everyone in that auditorium or the theater, about 800 people, all were crying. And so we knew at that point that Ryan had really, really, you know, did this movie really well, because it was there where we were able to witness basically the entire viewing audience in tears. You know, they actually walked with Oscar that day. They all actually come to know Oscar through that movie, and then to also feel his pain and just was hurt by it.
Yes.
So we were really happy that everyone was able to feel emotionally Oscar.
And do you think that in the end, after people watched the movie, that they actually got the message of Oscar's story and police misconduct and things such as that?
Yes, I do think people got the story, understand that, you know, he was, you know, according to this system and this legal system, you know, a verdict by the jury, found Johannes Mez to be guilty of what we didn't like, but involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
So it proved that here was a young black man wrongfully killed by a police officer by a jury of his peers.
Yeah.
And it was from that where we felt that that message of police brutality and young black and brown men being killed wrongfully was proven in a court of law.
Right. And how do you feel about the movie now? Do you feel like it displayed everything that happened to Oscar well and the idea of police brutality? Or do you think, what is your take on that?
I thought it did display very well the act of police brutality and racial profiling when it comes to young men of color.
Yes.
And so I really felt Ryan did a great job on that. He didn't really go into detail on it, but he showed how many of our young men experience this every day of their life.
Yeah.
Many, I shouldn't say one person experienced it every day of his life, but
right.
Every day of this life, a young black or brown man will experience some form of racial profiling, or police harassment, and police brutality.
Okay. All right. So that's the end of the first segment of questions.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Thank you for tuning in to TNN. Now we just watched part 1 of the interview with Oscar's uncle, Mr. Johnson. Here's part 2. So we've all got the chance to watch the story of Oscar unfold through Fruitvale Station. Now I think the biggest question is, who is Oscar Grant? So how was he as a nephew growing up?
I mean, Oscar was that child in your family that always seemed to have you laughing and smiling.
Mm-hmm.
He was that, that child in the family that, everybody just loved and gravitated to. He was funny. I mean, he was a character. He just knew, he had a toothy smile.
Mm-hmm.
Knew how to, just kind of bring you up even if you felt down. I mean, he was smart. He learned to play chess. I mean, at an extremely early age, he was just gifted all around, He had a great personality.
Mm-hmm.
He was a loving nephew. I mean, he was really respectful. I mean, I could just go on with the good aspect of Oscar because he had them all. He was just that person that we loved in the family and truly miss today.
Yes. So, did he ever say to you what he wanted to be when he got older?
He did. I say probably about 3 months before he was murdered, maybe 4 months before he was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Thanksgiving, but maybe a little bit before then. I know at Thanksgiving too, before he was murdered, he had shared that him and Safina were looking at moving out of Hayward to this area called, I believe it was Dublin, further out, and that he basically had wanted to go ahead and get his barber license and open up his own business.
Really?
As far as being a barber, yes.
Okay. Now, what type of father was he to his daughter Tatiana, and how did having her change his life?
Oh, I mean, he was And that's one thing that I loved about Ryan and how he did this movie, because it allowed us to see a young man of color really truly being a father to his daughter.
Yes.
I mean, Oscar loved his daughter. One of the funniest things about him and his love for his daughter was he had hung these flags out his car window that said that's a girl, and drove with them flags until they disintegrated.
Wow.
Yeah, he wouldn't take them off, because he was so proud to be a father. I mean, he was an excellent father. He was very attentive to Tatiana. And, I mean, you can just see the love that she had for her daddy as well as him as a daddy had for his daughter. So it changed his life tremendously, because he knew by her coming into this world what that meant. And he took responsibility to be a father to her.
Right. Okay. Now, how did he treat her mother, Sophina?
Well, I wasn't with him every day, but I do know from us going skating, I think we had even bowled together at one time. He treated her very, like she was his wife. He was very attentive to her needs. He was always there. Of course, he stayed a lot of times with over there with her mother, her grandmother. He would be there with them a lot. So he was very tender to Sophina, very loving to her. And I mean, of course, I'm speaking from my perception from the outside.
Right.
I thought it was a very, very loving relationship, and they were made for each other.
So did he ever tell you that he had any plans of marrying her or anything like that?
Oh, he did. He
did?
said that, of course, she was going to be his fiancée and they was going to get married. And that was a part of the moving out to Dublin to begin to start this new whole life that he had planned with her. They had that discussion. They talked about it. And he began to share it with us.
Okay. Now, as time progressed, what type of trouble did Oscar get into?
Well, Oscar never had gotten into any trouble until his 18th birthday, where he made a bad decision to actually be in a vehicle with some friends of his where there was a gun under the seat he didn't know anything about. And that was his first real encounter with the law, or the criminal justice system. And it was from there where he realized that he had made some mistakes, or made a major mistake, and had to pay for that mistake.
Right.
And so his getting in trouble with the criminal justice system wasn't like, blatant, or it wasn't to such an extreme to where he could be considered a criminal or a person that was habitually criminalized.
Right.
He had made a mistake. Matter of fact, he made a couple of mistakes. One time he was driving with a bad headlight. But in those regards, it was his extent with the law wasn't like tremendously bad.
Okay. And what is one of your most memorable experience with your nephew?
I would think it was a Saturday morning. I would say he was, well, actually I have a couple. But this one Saturday morning he came over, he had his football uniform in his hand. He kind of had some idea how to really put the pads in the uniform and, dress up and get ready to play football. And he asked me to, help him pad up, basically, put this uniform on, and so he could learn to move in it, because, he was an athlete, and so, and that was his first time really getting fully padded to begin to play high school football. That was really, really exciting. One of the other moments was when he, in my previous marriage, he was my best man. He went with me to Las Vegas, where I, at that time, married my previous wife. He was the best man in that with my son, and him and my son had this argument about who was going to hand me the ring.
Really?
that was really funny, you know. So they both got their hand won.
Right. Okay. Now, how is life now for the family without Oscar?
Well, you know, Oscar is a part of us,
Mhm.
and because of what happened, how it happened, and it being on video and going viral, of course, with the movie out.
Yes.
You know, the foundation. You know, we do work with the foundation. I mean, we miss Oscar. There's nothing that can replace him.
Mhm.
So he's a part of us. You know, it wasn't so. It's like he has been resurrected.
Mhm.
You know, especially through the you know what happened on that platform, and then the videos brought him back to life. And so
Right.
every day he's with us. You know, everything that we do, I get calls all the time, questions about Oscar. So
Mhm.
he's here with us.
Okay. And what type of things have you and the family been doing to keep his memory alive?
Um, well, in 2010, I started the Oscar Grant Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and it was from the foundation where we realized, you know, from our experience, that any family that experienced police brutality in the way that we did,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we would need to be there to help them get through the initial stage of that traumatic experience. And so, what we've been doing is just engaging people and families that have suffered police brutality or been police murder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been connected with the Trayvon Martin family, of course, the Romali Graham family in New York.
Okay.
You know, so many different families today that we have been a part of their lives in helping them get past that initial stage of that traumatic experience. Also, we've been on the front line dealing with police brutality
Mm-hmm.
in a legal sense. You know, we always are part of different rallies and events that pertains to whether it be police murder or police brutality. We're working to change legislation when it comes to the Peace Officers Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
We work with different communities to help begin the process of getting a citizen oversight committee started. You know, and we also teach and bring to mind to all that walk in the community to have their cameras ready whenever they see a young man or a female accosted by the police. Take a moment out of your life, pull out your camera, stand at a safe distance, and videotape. Because we
Right.
know, had it not been for those videotapes, none of us would know who Oscar Grant is today.
Right. Exactly. So, how can people get involved and stand up against police brutality?
Well, you can get involved simply by um, when you hear of a family that have suffered the pain of the loss of a loved one
Mm-hmm.
behind police brutality, or you know someone that's been beat up or brutalized by the police, you know, you can support that family. When you hear about rallies and protests going on concerning a family losing a loved one,
Mm-hmm.
that you support that rally, you know, become visible. You know, I always say, you know, if you can't be in a rally, take a moment out of your life when you see a young man pulled over or is being accosted by the police. Pull out your camera, stand at a safe distance, and video. You
Right.
know, and also, um, if you know, all that is good, but you can also be a part of the National Police Brutality Day on October 22nd. Every year, there's National Police Brutality Day, and you can wear black
Mm-hmm.
as a showing a solidarity in the respect of police brutality, that you stand against it and that you
Right.
support those that have suffered at the hands of the police. And also, you can, you know, I want to say, you can also go to the Oscar Grant Foundation website,
Mm-hmm.
which is at www.oscargrantfoundation.com. And on the website, you'll see many different activities that we're doing. and activities that we put down that pertains to other families that might be somewhere, it may be in your state.
Okay. All right. That's it.
We're not done yet, so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Thank you for calling your GED Pep Talk Center. All right, now, are you ready for your GED Pep Talk?
Being nervous is okay. It just shows that you're serious about getting your diploma.
A lot of things are scary. Heck, I'm scared of clowns.
No quiero oír. Danny, no lo puedo hacer.
GMC, life in your pep talk style.
Just keeping it real, Debs. Just keeping it real.
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.
All right, thank you for tuning in to That New News. Now, unfortunately, this is the last part of our tribute episode today for Oscar Grant. I want to thank all the viewers that tuned in. I want to thank my co-hosts, Devontae and Shalise. You guys are amazing. I also want to thank Oscar Grant's family for reaching out with us and doing the interview and just everything they've done, and everyone else that helped put this episode together. If you want to send best wishes, donations, or just anything to Oscar Grant's family, you can do so at www.oscargrantfoundation.com. I'm your host, Shakira, and you've just been hit with That New News, remix the Oscar Grant tribute. See you next week.
I am Oscar.
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 I am Oscar. I am Oscar.
I am Oscar.
I am Oscar. I am Oscar.
We are Oscar Grant.